going through the game, trucking along at a good pace and facing challenges here and there. But then this character appears and changes your outlook on everything. They're insanely powerful, decimating things you often would struggle with, usually with one attack. They're nearly godlike with their abilities, and they have graced your party with their immeasurable strength. Sometimes you start with them right away, or perhaps you meet them halfway, or even near the end of your long journey. Whenever it may be, they are very much welcome. In this top 10 list, we'll take a look at a few of these legendary beings that dominate their games and showed us what true power looked like. Some of the clips provided have some spoilers within them, so please be ready to skip if you see a game you want to play eventually. Number 10. Gadwin, Grandia. After journeying up the wall at the end of the world, Justin, Fina, and Sue are dropped off the edge on the other side and find themselves in a forest. Sue is missing, but they soon come across her pet Puffy, who leads them to her. They only see her bag beside a cauldron, and the figure says to himself, next to the cauldron, that he had finished what was inside the pot. Thinking that their friend has been consumed by this man, they confront him, and after some misunderstanding, the stranger lays down a punishing blow, and Justin is knocked out.
Ha! Dragon King Slice!
Oh! After learning from their mistakes, the party teams up with this stranger named Gadwin. Now, in most RPGs, the party members that join you are often close to your current level. Grandia took a more realistic approach where Justin is around level 15 at this point, whereas Gadwin, a grown man who is the Knight of Dite Village, I know, great naming, he is a staggering level 30 and can wipe out most enemies with ease. It makes for a change in attitude towards monsters for the period that you have him. He does eventually leave your group after a number of dungeons, unable to leave his village and have it unprotected. He does duel Justin to test his strength, which is actually winnable, unlike that painful 9,999 damage attack when you first encounter him.
Ha! Slice you in two!
Number 9. Black Iron Tarkus, Dark Souls. Technically, Black Iron Tarkus is a party member, even if it is only very temporary. In Dark Souls, a top Sen's fortress, you can find this tank's summon sign just a short walk away from the fog gate for the Iron Golem boss. You summon him to help you in the fight, but honestly, you can just stand and watch this guy take down the golem himself without any of your help. So hey, let's just watch. Number 8. Opera Vectra, Star Ocean: The Second Story. Despite having some strange lines throughout the game, such as the famous taunt, "I will turn you into a beehive," Opera is an amazingly useful character in many regards, and can become insanely powerful. First off, her weapon is a giant fuck-off rifle that can do all sorts of things. It can shoot lasers, homing shots, it can even shoot healing spells into the sky. Why the hell not? She learns a move called Healing Star, and when leveled up, it can be good enough to kick out a dedicated healer. Not to mention it takes way less time to cast than most of the spells that seem to take their sweet-ass time in this game. One move Opera knows immediately is called Alpha on 1, or when she uses it, she says, "No!" This is a move that shoots a homing shot that can deal some pretty chunky damage. As you use it more, it levels up, and it will eventually shoot out 5 shots at whatever target you're aiming at. You can spam this move to hell and back, letting you sit back comfortably away from any danger and deal an insane amount of damage to your enemy. It makes the game ridiculously easy when you use her. Number 7. Raquel Applegate, Wild Arms 4. Raquel is your main attacker in Wild Arms 4, and it shows. She has some nifty abilities that turn her into a destructive force that can easily solo any boss in this game. So first off, let's talk about the battle system a bit to show you just how overpowered she can get. In battle, you have a gauge on the side that is called the Force Gauge, a collective gauge for the group to take from to use special skills. Raquel has a move called Moonlight that raises the Force Gauge by 25 force points. She also has a skill that uses 25 force points called Intrude, which allows her to perform 2 turns in a row. If your gauge is full at 100, you can have her perform 4 to 5 attacks in a row. You can use Intrude, attack 1 time, use Intrude again, attack once again, and so on and so forth. She does suffer from low speed, but her ultimate weapon and various accessories can negate that, giving her 2 attacks per round of combat, much like her companions. Oh, and she can easily solo the insanely hard optional boss, Ragu o Ragla. Just saying.
Down!
Number 6. Craig Boone, Fallout New Vegas.
Well, you see anybody wearing Legion Crimson or a lot of sports equipment, you just let me know. You still haven't answered my question.
When people say you'll never have to fire a single gunshot ever again, they aren't bullshitting you. Craig Boone, a former New California Republic Army soldier, is available to become a traveling companion and specializes in sniping your enemies from afar. Seriously, you can be running up to an enemy, ready to wail on their face with a bat, and then their head will explode and you'll hear Craig in the background.
Over there. Eat this.
This happens
Again and again. And again and again and again.
You're mine. Eat this.
Number 5. Rita Mordio, Tales of Vesperia.
I am so gonna make you blah blah blah.
You're dead!
In most newer Tales games, there are powerful advanced spells that take time to cast, usually involving a longer chant to invoke the spell. In Vesperia, there is a battle mechanic known as Overlimit. Think like a limit break that can unlock some crazy potential when the timer is ticking. For Rita, the main spellcaster of the group, this means she can cast high-level spells much faster, such as the spell Tidal Wave, where instead of taking ages to cast it, she simply says, Since Tidal Wave takes up the entire battlefield, you can lock enemies in a constant vortex of water as Rita spams the spell. Depending on the setup, you can have her spam the spell numerous times, regain another level of overlimit, activate it, continue spamming, fill the gauge. It's an endless loop of pain for your enemies. I warn you though, you will get sick and tired of hearing,
Are you done already?
Number 4. Viola, Eternal Sonata. You wouldn't think that an archer character would be a huge damage dealer, but Viola is that. Plus, she has a few weak, albeit helpful, healing spells as well. In Eternal Sonata, you can move about the battlefield and then assign attacks. Viola has a unique fighting style in that she can pull out her bow and fire from across the battlefield, dealing heavy damage while also being out of harm's way. She also has an ability called Hawkeye, which marks the enemy with a glyph under the target. This allows the entire party to deal a significantly larger amount of damage when when attacking the marked enemy. It remains there until someone uses a special attack, of which Viola has hard-hitting normal attacks, often dealing more damage than any of her special ones. This means she can solo many bosses, so long as she keeps up the glyph. Another fun thing to know about Hawkeye is that when it's activated and you take aim with Viola's bow, if she shoots anywhere within the glyph, it will count as hitting the target even if they're tiny in size. Though the best way to maximize damage is to aim for the enemy's head. Hawkeye, aim for the head, and you've just won the game. Number 3. Seth, Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones. Seen by many players as a god, the character Seth from Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones is exactly that, a freaking immortal damage-dealing god. He has a number of things going for him. 1. His stat growth is great, even later in the game. 2. He starts with an A rank for both swords and lances, allowing him to dominate the weapon triangle. The lance beats sword, sword beats axe, axe beats lance. 3. He's a paladin, meaning he has a mount and can move 8 squares and take control of the battlefield. 4. He possesses the anima affinity, which gives great bonuses to attack, defense, and evasion when paired up with someone with good support. These points set him up for glory and keeps him ahead of enemies in the game in every chapter. So much so that he can solo the game, and it is widely considered easier than using other units besides him. If you're still not convinced by Seth's godliness, take a look at Shadow of Chaos 725's clip where he has no chance of dealing damage to the enemy, and yet... Number 2. Vandalier Ash, Vandal Hearts. In Vandal Hearts, you can acquire the class Vandalier for Ash, the main character. While it comes after finding a key in each chapter and defeating the 6 trials of Toroa, it will be well worth it, as the class gives you an insane amount of power in both melee and magic. When becoming the Vandalier class, Ash gets stronger, obviously, and gets a much more robust set of equipment that breaks the game and makes him nearly unstoppable. Not only that, he now has access to every spell in the game, even ones exclusively used by enemies. This includes a magic spell called Plasma Wave that hits every enemy on the field regardless of distance. You'd think that would be enough to break the game, but I'm not finished yet. Ash also now has access to every item in the game and can use them infinitely. You heard me right, he can use any items as many times as he wants. There's an item that fully restores HP and MP of a nearby unit, or you could spam the item that restores all HP for every ally on the map, regardless of their position. So really, you could just keep him tucked away in a corner, spamming an all-heal item, and occasionally popping off the Plasma Wave and hit every enemy. Number 1. Count Sidolphus Orlandu, Final Fantasy Tactics. This man is the ultimate party member. I have no memory of ever having him fall in battle with my numerous save files for Tactics. And it's not just me. Any forum you go on with the topic of overpowered party members, his face appears over and over. Throughout Final Fantasy Tactics, you run into certain knights that have access to special sword moves. An example of this is your party member Agrius Oaks, who is a holy knight and has access to the holy sword techniques. Another one is Gofard Gafgarian, who is a dark knight and has access to the fell sword techniques. Now, can you imagine a single character having access to all of these sword techniques? Wait, what if some of the sword techniques broke equipment on the enemy? So even if they were to survive the hit, they would have no armor, or helmets, or accessories, or even weapons? Orlandu is this man. He has the Holy Swordsman job class, and has access to all of these. He comes equipped with Excalibur, the most powerful sword you can get normally without having to go into the optional dungeon. He has the second best stat gains, he is physically and magically competent and has high HP. He can equip helmets and armor, as well as hats, clothes, and robes, and while only swords can access the swordplay abilities, his all-encompassing sword technique abilities, he can still equip daggers, ninja blades, and katanas. Once you obtain Orlando in the last chapter, the challenge level in the game dissipates, as he dominates every battle, crushing every foe that steps in front of him.